Hello, welcome or welcome back. My name is Ari and today is my end of month wrap up for July. Now, July is by far my worst reading month of the year. I don't know why that was so hard to say, but I did take a vacation in the first week of July and didn't read anything at all for about 10 days. And then the books that I was reading this month were mediocre. Like some of them were like, okay, yeah, that was good, that was okay. And then some of them were like, I could have done without reading that, or I'm kind of bored reading this, but there wasn't anything that really stood out as like really, really amazing or really, really bad. But let's go over the stats really quick. In July, I read 15 books, 4,747 pages, which is about half of what I normally read, a little over half of what I normally read. About 153 pages per day and about 316 pages per book. Genre, as always, fantasy's at the top, but it's not leading by a lot this month. I only read 4 fantasy titles, 3 sci-fi, 3 non-fiction, 2 horror, 1 general fiction, 1 classic, and 1 thriller. The gender of the authors that I was reading from, I read 6 books by female authors, 7 books by male authors, 1 book by a non-binary author, and 1 book by multiple authors. Demographic, 12 of them were for adult audiences and 3 were for young adult audiences. Format, 8 of them were physical books, 6 were ebooks, and 1 was an audiobook. From the sources, I only read 2 books from my backlist, which is really bad. 5 of them were new to me this year, 4 of them were from book boxes, 3 ARCs, and 1 book from the library. As far as star rating goes, I had 1 5-star, 6 4-stars, 7 3-stars, 1 2-star, no 1-stars, and technically 3 DNFs, but 2 of them are like DNF for now, maybe. I'll go over those in a minute and explain that further. From there, let's move right on into the books I read. If you are new to my channel, I do this lightning round where I don't really tell you much about what I read. If you are more interested in my full thoughts on any of these books, I will have it linked down below. Now, one thing that I'm going to do a little bit different is go over my Dungeons of Books TBR from last month. I don't normally do that in this video. Like I say, like I read that book, but I don't say where it fit with my Dungeons of Books prompt. But I fucked it up so bad last month that I'm gonna go ahead and talk about those books. For Dungeons of Books in July, I had 6 books on my TBR. The ones that I did complete were Satan Loves You by Grady Hendrix. I gave this 4 stars. Not my favorite Grady Hendrix book, but I am glad I read it. A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This is her newest series. I did enjoy this book and it has all of the Becky Chambers qualities that I love. This one just isn't as good yet as her Wayfarer series. I did like that more. I also read Armor by I don't remember. This one was okay. It was kind of like one of those, like, yeah, that wasn't bad. But not my favorite, not my least favorite. It was just comfortably in the middle there. I also read Trans Wizard Harriet Porber and The Theater of Love by Chuck Tingle. I did enjoy this one. If you are against TERFs, and specifically against J.K. Rowling and her turfishness, then I do highly recommend this series. It's a 2-book series by Chuck Tingle. It's hilarious and he is an author who is definitely worth supporting. Now, the 2 books that I didn't mention. First off, I put The Woman in White on this TBR, which is this book, and I was specifically thinking about a very specific classic when I put this on my TBR. The classic that I was thinking of was not The Woman in White, it was The Woman in Black. And I got through like the first almost 100 pages of this 600-page novel going, this isn't the story I'm thinking of at all. Like, where is the horror aspect about this? And then I like looked up the synopsis of this, not even vaguely the story I was thinking of. So I DNF'd this because this isn't what I wanted to read. This isn't wasn't what I was thinking of when I picked this book up. So I DNF'd this for now. I will put it on my classic shelves and I may read it later, I may not. This is kind of like a mystery story, and let me tell you that 100 pages in, I just did not give a shit at all. But it is well written and easy to read for a classic if you're interested in this. So instead of reading this one, I did read The Woman in Black, which is a much shorter novel, and this one is a horror story, and I'm an idiot, and I very much enjoyed this. This is one of the very few horror stories that actually scare the absolute shit out of me, and I had trouble sleeping afterwards. There's a helicopter. We're gonna pause for a second. And since it actually scared the shit out of me so much, it did exactly what it set out to accomplish, and I gave it 5 stars. So if you want a horror story that is actually going to give you the creeps, I highly recommend The Woman in Black. The other one that I DNF'd from this list was 400 Souls. How do I put this? I think this is a good thing to read. I just could not, like, I wasn't in the right headspace to get through this month. The only problem I'm seeing so far is each author, because like every 20 years I think is told by a different author, and each author just writes so wildly different, it doesn't seem like a complete narrative, or it seems like you're just jumping into like completely different narratives every single time. And so with that, I struggled a lot to like really enjoy this. I think I'm just gonna set it aside for now and come back to it later. And let's get into the rest of the books. I read All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. I think this is a good memoir, and I think if I was the target audience, I would have given it higher than 4 stars. But if you are a young gay boy, specifically a young gay black boy, and you feel like you're not represented, read this book. Or you just want to read that perspective, also read this book. It's very well done, just not for me. Then I read The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. Whew. I can't talk today at all, not that I can ever talk anyway. This is an early short story collection in the Witcher series. It's good. I liked it. I'm gonna continue. Then I read This Book Is Gay by Juno Dawson. I didn't like this. This is very dated. There is some shaming going on, and it just doesn't feel for me. If you have a gay son, specifically just gay, and you trying to figure out how to relate to your gay son, read this book. Anything else, there's better. Next, I read Exciting Times by Nosy Dolan. I got this in a book box. I hated this book. This is not for me. It's like contemporary, there's cheating, I don't like it. Next up, I read a bunch of arcs. The first one was Small Magic by Terry Brooks. It's a short story collection by Terry Brooks. If you've read all of his Shannara books, and you really like them, pick it up. If you haven't, this really isn't for you. Next, I read The Storm's Betrayal by Corey Lee. This was the second book in this series, which I don't remember the name of the series. I liked it quite a bit, actually, and I am looking forward to continuing to the third book. Then I read The Devourer below. Words are really hard. This is a short story collection set in the Arkham Horror universe. That is a Lovecraftian universe based off of a board game called Arkham Horror. I kind of like these stories. This is literally, I just pick it up because of the cover. The stories are okay. They're not my favorite, but I don't hate them. After that, I read The Secret History of Wonder Woman by Jill Lepore. This is fucking weird. This is basically a biography of the author, or of the guy who created Wonder Woman, and he was a wild dude. Just fucking wild. After that, I read my book of the month book, which is Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. This was not for me. I didn't like this at all. This was incredibly boring and predictable to me, even though I thought the representation was very good in this book. The final book I completed was Future Feeling by Joss Lake. This is a trans book by a trans author. This is really, really fucking weird, and it's basically everything that I want in a book right now, where unlikable main character, like magical sci-fi setting. I have no fucking idea what's going on, but I just couldn't put it down. And then the book that I did like hard DNF is a book called Beautiful Nightmare by Elsie Sun, I think. Something like that. The writing in this book was awful and I couldn't handle it, so I DNF'd it. That's it. Anyway, that's everything that I read this month. Like I said, if you want more details on any of these books that I talked about, the links to my Goodreads review of them will be down in the description below. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!